The peanut butter sandwich cost her everything, but it gave him a future worth $80 million. Elena Vance, 8 years old and black, saw the starving, sick Korean boy through the fence. Her family had nothing, but she gave him her lunch anyway, every single day for 6 months. No one asked her to. No one thanked her. She just did it. When social services dragged him away, Minho made a wild promise. "I'll marry you when I'm rich." She laughed through tears, then pressed something into his bleeding palm, a cheap chain with a pendant shaped like half a heart. 22 years vanished. Minho became a Mafia King, spent 5 years searching for her, bought entire city blocks, hired investigators, found nothing. Tonight, he'd walk into a community meeting in Seattle's Emerald District. Elena would be there, still wearing her half of that broken heart. Neither knew they were seconds away from a reunion that would burn everything down. The scar on Minho Park's palm never healed right. 20 years later, that jagged line sat in the center of a hand that could sign papers worth millions or order a man to disappear with a single nod. They called him the Gwang-ju Ghost. In Seattle's underworld, his name was a warning. In the corporate world, he didn't exist, just shell companies swallowing buildings block by block. But Minho wasn't buying Seattle to get richer. Somewhere inside, he was still 8 years old, pressed against chain-link metal with fever shaking his bones, waiting for the girl who fed him when the world pretended he didn't exist. That morning, he stood in a penthouse above Elliott Bay. Glass, silence, the city glittering below. Black suit. Collar open enough to reveal ink crawling up his neck, marks earned in blood. Behind him, his security chief waited. "Director Kang is asking again." Minho didn't turn. "Tell him no. He says your obsession is becoming a liability." Minho's thumb pressed the scar on his palm. Kang should remember who made him powerful. The bodyguard stepped back. Minho turned to his hand. The scar. The reminder. For all the blood he'd spilled, all the wealth, nothing felt as real as the memory of a small hand squeezing his through a fence. He closed his eyes. 8 years old, fever burning, hunger gnawing, chain-link fence cold against his face. Then, her. Small black girl, tired eyes, kneeling, opening her lunchbox. Peanut butter sandwich pushed through metal. "You gotta eat." Minho's fist clenched. 22 years, 5 years searching. Every database, every shelter record, every dead end that should have made him quit. Kang called it weakness. Minho called it the only thing that mattered. On his desk, a tablet glowed. Emerald District Community Town Hall, tonight, 7 p.m. "Sir, the acquisition on Mariner Street, execute it." "That's Elena Vance's block." His pulse kicked hard. "I know. Kang won't. I don't care. Buy the block. Every property within 2 blocks of that town hall. Tonight." "Understood." Minho's phone buzzed, confirmed. Elena Vance, social worker, speaking tonight. Photo attached. He opened it. The woman stood at a podium, mid-speech, fire in her eyes. Older, harder, beautiful. The necklace destroyed him. Silver against her collarbone, a pendant shaped like half a heart. The other half sat in his bedroom drawer, and untouched for 22 years except when nightmares made him pull it out to prove she'd been real. Minho's hand shook once, then locked down. He'd built an empire from nothing, survived trafficking, violence, betrayal, became the Gwang-ju Ghost, untouchable, unstoppable. All for this moment, all to prove he'd kept his promise. "Prepare the convoy. We're going to the town hall." "Sir, it could be dangerous." "Let them come." Something flickered in his eyes. Hunger, Possession. The kind of obsession that built empires and burned them just as fast. She's finally close, he whispered. Across the city, Elena Vance pulled on her jacket, tucking that half-heart pendant under her shirt, ready to fight a corporate monster she didn't know she'd saved 22 years ago. Before we dive deeper into this story, I need your help. We're on a mission to reach 1,000 subscribers, and every single subscription brings us closer to that goal. If you enjoy stories about complicated love, about people who choose each other despite the odds, please hit that subscribe button. And I'd love to know, where are you listening from? Drop a comment and tell me your city or country. Building this community means everything, and knowing where you all are makes it even more special. 22 years earlier, Elena Vance was 8 years old the first time she saw the boy dying behind the fence. She wasn't supposed to be in that alley. Mama said the South End warehouses were where bad things happened. But Elena's shortcut to school cut through there. That's when she heard the coughing. Not normal coughing. The kind that sounded like drowning on dry land. Chain-link fence. Rusted. Behind it, a small figure curled against concrete. Elena should have kept walking. Instead, she knelt. The boy was small, Korean, black hair matted with sweat. His skin had that gray tone Grandma called death-knocking. His eyes cracked open, dark, glassy with fever. Elena opened her lunchbox. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Stale bread. Peanut butter stretched so thin you could see through it. But it was food. She pushed it through the fence. "You gotta eat," she whispered. His hand trembled. When his fingers touched the bread, he pulled back like it might vanish. "It's okay. It's yours." He ate like an animal, just survival. "I'm Elena." His voice came out broken. "Minho. I'll come back tomorrow." She did. The ritual became muscle memory. Every morning, Elena detoured through the alley. Every morning, Minho waited by the fence. "And peanut butter and jelly, half a banana." Sometimes soup when Grandma made extra. Some truths hurt too much to say out loud, but kindness didn't need words. 2 weeks later, the other kids noticed. Marcus Thompson, 6th grader, mean eyes. "Yo, Elena feeds the fence rat." Laughter exploded. Marcus shoved her lunchbox. "What's wrong with you? That's a dirty Korean." Elena's hands curled into fists. "He's hungry." "So? Everybody's hungry." But Elena didn't stop. Not when they mocked her. Not when they stole from her lunchbox. Not when Marcus tripped her and called her stupid. She just kept coming back. Because Minho's eyes had started changing. When he saw her now, something flickered. Hope. Winter came hard. Elena had one jacket. Denim, worn at the elbows, until she saw Minho shivering. She pulled it off and pushed it through the fence. Take it." "No, you'll—" "I got another one at home." Lie, but a good lie. Elena walked to school freezing. Mama noticed that night. "Where's your jacket?" "Lost it." Mama knew, but she also knew Elena. She sighed and handed Elena an old sweater. "Don't lose this one." Then Elena got sick. Fever. Coughing that rattled her chest. Grandma gave her the last bottle of medicine. Small. Expensive. "Take a spoonful before bed, baby." Elena held it like gold. That night, she thought about Minho's cough, how it never stopped. Her chest hurt, her throat burned. But Minho was dying. She wrapped the bottle in a plastic bag. Next morning, she could barely stand. Fever made the world swim. Minho saw her and his face crumpled. "Elena, you're sick. You need it more." She pushed the medicine through the fence. His eyes filled with something that looked like breaking. "Why? Why do you keep helping me?" Elena leaned against the fence, dizzy. "My grandma says when you have nothing, kindness is the only currency that still buys something." "Buys what?" Hope. That's when it happened. Minho reached through the fence. The metal cut his palm, sharp, deep. Blood welled fast. Elena grabbed his hand. The fence tore her palm too. Blood mixed with blood. 2 8-year-olds holding hands through chain-link metal while the world walked past. Minho's grip tightened. Elena. His voice dropped to something raw. Impossible? When I'm rich, when I grow up and I'm rich, I'll marry you. Elena's fever-bright eyes burned. You're dumb, she whispered, smiling. You can't even stand up. Minho's bloody hand squeezed harder. I swear it. I'll come back. I'll give you a world where nobody is hungry. Before Elena could answer, engines roared. Van, white, official logos, social services. There he is! Hands grabbed Minho, pulled him from the fence. No! Elena screamed. She ran forward, fingers clawing at metal. Let him go! Minho fought. Elena! They dragged him toward the van. He twisted back, blood smearing across his jacket, her jacket. I'll come back! He screamed. I promise. The van door slammed. Elena chased it down the alley, lungs burning, vision blurring, screaming his name until her voice gave out. The van turned the corner. Gone. Elena collapsed on broken pavement, blood dripping from her palm. In her pocket, the cheap necklace Grandma gave her. Half a heart on a silver chain. She'd wanted to give it to Minho, but she never got the chance. Never got his last name. Never got his address. Nothing. The fence still had his blood on it, mixed with hers. That night, Elena wrapped the necklace around her neck. The metal felt cold. She made her own promise. If he ever came back, if Minho ever found his way home, she'd be wearing this. Grandma found her on the porch, palm wrapped in bandages. Baby, what happened? I lost someone. Grandma sat beside her. People ain't lost if you keep them in your heart. Elena touched the pendant. What if he forgets me? Then you'll remind him. 22 years later, Elena would stand in a town hall wearing that same necklace, and a man with a scar matching hers would walk through the door. Elena. 20 years later. Elena Vance graduated with a social work degree she couldn't afford. Didn't matter. She returned to the Emerald District, the same neighborhood that raised her. Her office was a converted storage room. Flickering lights, mold-smelling walls. Her caseload was 43 families. Recommended maximum 15. Every morning, Elena woke up exhausted. Every night, she went to bed more exhausted. Families evicted. Kids sleeping in cars. Single mothers working 3 jobs and still losing custody because poverty looked like neglect. Elena fought for them anyway. She organized tenant unions, negotiated with slumlords, helped families navigate assistance programs that never seemed to exist. People called her a saint. Elena called herself tired, but she kept the half-heart necklace around her neck. Always. The threats started small. Anonymous notes. Stop organizing or else. Then escalated, slashed tires, broken windows, for a man following her home. Developers hated resistance. Landlords hated informed tenants. The system preferred victims quiet. Elena refused. She started community defense groups, taught residents how to document violations, file complaints, show up at hearings with numbers. The Emerald District fought back. And Elena Vance became the woman who wouldn't let her people disappear. 30 years old, single, exhausted. Still wearing a half-heart necklace for a boy who vanished. Still believing promises mattered. Minho, the same 20 years. Minho Park didn't get adopted. Foster care shuffled him through 12 homes in 5 years, each worse than the last. Some hit him, some ignored him. One tried to sell him. By 13, Minho learned, trust no one. kindness was a weapon. Survival required becoming unbreakable. At 15, he ran. Ended up in Seattle's underworld. Orphans became predators or prey. Minho chose predator. He joined a Korean syndicate. Started as a runner, messages, drugs, money. But Minho was smart. He learned fast, memorized names, routes, weaknesses. When violence came, Minho didn't flinch. He learned to fight like an animal. No rules, no mercy, just brutal efficiency. By 18, he was a strategist. By 22, untouchable. They called him the Gwang-ju Ghost because he moved through operations like smoke, there, then gone, leaving bodies without fingerprints. Director Kang noticed. "Work for me. I'll make you rich." Minho took it, not for wealth, for power. Power to find the girl who saved him, power to keep his promise. Minho executed Kang's rivals with surgical precision. Silent hits, clean disappearances. He built his own network. Money laundering through real estate, shell companies, legitimate fronts. By 28, Minho had $80 million in assets, properties across Seattle, influence reaching into City Hall. But none of it mattered. Every night, Minho stared at his scar and remembered the girl who gave him her lunch, her jacket, her medicine, the girl who bled with him through a fence. He hired investigators. Find Elena Vance, 8 years old, black, lived in South End near the warehouses. They searched databases, school records, social services, nothing. Years passed. Kang kept warning him. "You're obsessed with a memory. Let it go." Minho couldn't. That memory was the only soft thing left. Then, 5 years ago, Minho found her. Elena Vance, social worker, Emerald District, still there, still fighting, still wearing a half-heart necklace. Minho's world stopped. For 5 years, he circled her, bought buildings in her district, block by block, not to hurt her, to protect her from developers who'd crush the Emerald District for profit, to prove he kept his promise. But Director Kang saw weakness. "You're compromising operations for a woman who doesn't know you exist." Minho's response was cold. "Everything I built for her." Kang's eyes narrowed. "Then you're a liability." Minho walked out. That night became a turning point. Kang made calls, positioned his people, started planning how to remove the Gwang-ju Ghost permanently. But Minho was already 3 moves ahead. He stood in his penthouse, staring at a digital map glowing in the darkness. Red pins marked every property he owned. All circled the Emerald District. All pointed to her. 22 years of searching, 5 years of circling. Tonight, it all came together. He pressed a button. The screen changed. Community Town Hall, Emerald District, 7 p.m. Tonight. Speaker, Elena Vance, Community Organizer. Minho's hand closed into a fist. The scar on his palm burned white against his skin. His reflection stared back from the glass. No longer the starving boy behind a fence. Now something darker, dangerous, built from violence and wealth and survival. But underneath, buried beneath 20 years of blood, the promise remained intact. "I'll marry you when I'm rich." Minho pulled on his black suit jacket, adjusted his collar. Behind him, his security chief entered. "Sir, Director Kang has people en route to the town hall. He's planning—" "I know what he's planning." "Should we mobilize?" Minho's voice dropped to something cold and final. "Let Kang make his move. I'll be there." The bodyguard hesitated. "It's a trap." "Good." Because Minho wasn't just going to a town hall meeting. He was walking into a collision 22 years in the making. Elena Vance would see him tonight, and Director Kang would learn what happened when someone tried to take away the only thing Minho Park had ever cared about protecting. The community center was packed, standing room only, families shoulder to shoulder, elders in folding chairs, young mothers holding babies, men who'd worked construction for 30 years watching their neighborhood get swallowed whole. Elena stood at the front, microphone in hand, fire in her chest. She'd dressed for war, black blazer, jeans, boots that had walked every street in this district, the half-heart necklace tucked under her collar, always there, always hidden. "They want us quiet," Elena's voice cut through the room. "They want us scared. They buy our buildings, triple our rent, and wait for us to disappear." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. "But we're not disappearing. Not tonight. Not ever." Applause erupted. Elena gripped the podium. "This developer, this faceless corporation buying up our blocks, thinks we're just numbers on a balance sheet, but we're people. We're families. We're—" The doors opened. Cold air rushed in. The room went silent. 3 men entered, black suits, earpieces, moving like trained killers, and behind them, him. Elena's words died in her throat. The man was tall, Korean, black suit perfectly tailored, collar open enough to reveal ink climbing his neck. Hair swept back, face carved from something that didn't forgive. But it was his eyes that stopped her. Dark, sharp, focused on her like she was the only person in the room, like he'd been searching for her his entire life. Minho Park stepped into the community center, and the air changed. People shifted, whispered. Someone near the back said, "That's him. That's the Gwang-ju Ghost." Elena's pulse kicked hard. This was the man buying her district. The predator, the monster she'd been fighting for months, and he was staring at her like she belonged to him. Minho moved down the center aisle, slow, deliberate. His bodyguards flanked him, scanning the crowd with cold efficiency. Elena forced herself to speak. "You're not welcome here." Minho stopped 10 feet from the podium. Miss Vance?" His voice was smooth, controlled, dangerous. "I came to hear what you have to say." "I already said it. You're a vulture." Something flickered in his eyes. Not anger, something else. "A vulture," he repeated softly. "Interesting. You tear apart communities for profit. Buy buildings, evict families, destroy neighborhoods. That makes you a predator." Minho's jaw tightened. His hand flexed at his side, the one with the scar. "And what does that make you?" he asked, voice dropping lower. "Someone who fights predators? Someone who protects her people?" Minho's gaze never left hers. "Then we want the same thing." Elena laughed, sharp, bitter. "We want nothing alike." Before Minho could respond, the side door crashed open. 6 men burst in, not suits, street clothes, baseball bats, chains, thugs. The crowd screamed. Elena's heart stopped. The men moved fast, targeting residents near the exits, shoving elders, grabbing phones, creating chaos. "Everyone out!" one of them yelled. "This meeting's over!" Panic exploded. People scrambled for doors. Chairs toppled. A woman fell. Her child screamed. Elena jumped off the stage. "Stop! Don't hurt them!" One of the thugs grabbed her arm, yanked hard. Then everything went silent. Not quiet. Silent in the way violence makes the world hold its breath. Because Minho Park moved, fast, brutal, precise. He crossed the room in 3 strides, grabbed the thug holding Elena, and slammed him into the wall so hard the drywall cracked. The man crumpled. Minho turned. Another thug swung a bat. Minho caught it mid-swing, twisted, bones snapped. The thug screamed. The remaining 4 froze. Minho's bodyguards didn't move. Didn't need to, because their boss was a weapon. Minho stepped forward, voice dropping to something cold and final. Touch her again, and I'll bury you where no one finds the body. The thugs ran. The room was silent except for ragged breathing. Elena stood frozen, staring at the man who'd just brutalized 5 people to protect a crowd that hated him. Minho turned to her, blood on his knuckles, breathing steady, eyes still locked on hers. Are you hurt? Elena's mouth opened, closed. Her brain couldn't process what just happened. No, I'm fine. Minho's gaze swept over her like he was checking for injuries himself. When he seemed satisfied, he nodded once. Good. The crowd started whispering, confused, terrified, grateful. An elder near the front spoke up. You saved us. Minho didn't look away from Elena. I didn't come here to hurt anyone. Then why did you come? Elena's voice shook. Minho took a step closer. The room faded, the people, the noise, everything, just him, just her, just 22 years of distance collapsing into a single moment. Because, Minho said quietly, I'm not the enemy you think I am. Elena's hand moved to her neck, instinct, touching the pendant beneath her shirt. Minho's eyes tracked the movement. Something shifted in his expression, recognition flickering like lightning. But before either could speak, thunder rolled outside. Rain started hitting the windows, soft at first, then harder. Minho's bodyguard stepped forward. Sir, we need to leave. Director Kang's people, I know. Minho turned back to Elena. Walk with me. What? Outside, just for a moment. Elena should have said no, should have called security. But something in his eyes stopped her. Not threat, desperation. Minho's hand moved to his chest, palm pressed flat over his heart. Because 22 years ago, he said, voice breaking slightly, someone taught me that kindness still exists. Elena's breath caught. Minho stepped toward the door. Rain poured outside. He looked back. Come with me, Elena Vance. Elena's legs moved before her brain caught up. She followed him into the rain. Rain hit like bullets. Elena stood outside the community center, water soaking through her blazer, hair plastered to her face. Minho stood 3 feet away, close enough to touch, far enough to run. His bodyguards waited by black SUVs, giving them space but watching everything. Who are you? Elena's voice shook. From cold, from adrenaline, from something deeper. Minho's eyes never left hers. You already know. I know you're buying my neighborhood. I know you're mafia. I know. You don't know anything. The words came out sharp, not angry, desperate. Elena stepped back. Then tell me. Minho's hand moved to his palm. Slow, deliberate. He held it up. The streetlight caught the scar. Jagged, white against tan skin, shaped like lightning. Elena's heart stopped. Her hand moved without thinking, touched her own palm, the matching scar she'd carried for 22 years. Minho saw the movement. His breath caught. Show me, he whispered. Elena's hand trembled. She turned her palm up. The scars were identical. 2 wounds born in the same moment. 2 children bleeding through a fence. 2 promises made when they had nothing but each other. Elena's knees went weak. No, you can't be Minho Park. His voice cracked. You fed me peanut butter sandwiches behind a chain-link fence when I was dying. You gave me your jacket, your medicine, your kindness when the world forgot I existed. Elena's eyes burned. You disappeared. They took you. I know. Minho stepped closer, rain running down his face like tears. I looked for you. For 22 years I looked. And when I finally found you, His voice broke. Elena's hand covered her mouth. The buildings, the properties. You're the developer. I'm not trying to destroy your neighborhood. Minho's words came fast now. Raw. I'm trying to protect it. Other developers were moving in. Real predators. They'd evict everyone, bulldoze everything. Turn this place into condos for tech workers who'd never know what used to be here. So you bought it first? Every block I could afford. Every building under threat. I used shell companies to hide my name because if the syndicate knew... He stopped, jaw tight. Director Kang doesn't understand. He thinks it's weakness. But I don't care. I made you a promise. Elena's voice came out barely audible. What promise? Minho's eyes locked on hers. Dark, intense, vulnerable in a way that didn't match the violence she'd just witnessed. I told you I'd come back when I was rich. His voice dropped lower. I told you I'd give you a world where nobody was hungry, where nobody disappeared, where people like us mattered. Thunder rolled overhead. Elena's chest tightened. 22 years of carrying a half-heart necklace. 22 years of wondering if the boy behind the fence survived. 22 years of fighting alone. And now he was here. Rich, dangerous, still keeping promises. I can fund your programs, Minho said. Housing initiatives, food banks, medical clinics, everything you've been fighting for. I have $80 million in assets. All of it, every dollar, I'll give it to you. Elena's head spun. Why? Because you saved my life when you had every reason to walk past. Because you taught me that kindness wasn't weakness. Because... He stopped, reached into his jacket, pulled out something wrapped in black cloth. Slowly, Minho unwrapped it. A pendant. Silver. Shaped like half a heart. The other half of Elena's necklace. Elena's hand flew to her neck, pulled out her own pendant. They fit together perfectly. Two halves of the same promise, and separated for 22 years. Finally complete. Minho's voice was barely a whisper. I kept it. Every day. Every night. Even when I forgot what your face looked like. Even when I became something you'd hate. I kept this because it was proof you were real. Elena couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Couldn't process that the mafia boss she'd been fighting for months was the dying boy she'd fed through a fence. I don't understand, she whispered. How did you become... this? Minho's expression darkened. Survival, violence, choices I'm not proud of. I built an empire on blood because I needed power to find you, to protect you, to keep the promise I made when I was 8 years old and had nothing. And Director Kang? Wants me dead for caring about you. Elena's pulse kicked. What? Minho stepped closer. Those men tonight, Kang's people, he's trying to prove protecting you makes me weak. Does it? It makes me human, and that terrifies him. Engines revved in the distance. Minho's bodyguard shouted, Sir, multiple vehicles incoming. Minho grabbed Elena's hand, the scarred one, palm to palm. Come with me. I have a safe house, somewhere Kang can't reach. Elena looked into his eyes and saw the 8-year-old boy who promised her the world. Okay. If you're feeling the weight of this moment right now, if your heart just broke and healed at the same time, imagine walking away before seeing what happens next. 22 years they've been apart. Don't leave them now. Hit that subscribe button, because what comes next will change everything. And drop a comment telling me, did you see this reunion coming? Minho's penthouse felt like another world. Glass walls, city lights below. Silence so thick Elena could hear her own heartbeat. She stood dripping on expensive hardwood, suddenly aware she was alone with a Mafia King she'd known for an hour and trusted for reasons she couldn't explain. Minho moved to the bar, poured 2 glasses of whiskey without asking. "You're shaking." Elena wrapped her arms around herself. "I'm cold." "You're scared." "Maybe both." Minho handed her the glass. Their fingers touched, the scars aligned again. He pulled back like the contact burned. "I'll get you dry clothes." When he left, Elena exhaled. Her reflection stared back from the window. Soaked, exhausted, holding whiskey in a stranger's penthouse while her entire reality rewrote itself. Minho returned with a shirt and sweatpants. "Bathroom's through there." Elena changed. His clothes smelled like expensive cologne and something underneath, something familiar she couldn't place. When she emerged, Minho stood by the window. Jacket off, sleeves rolled up, ink visible, dragons, Korean characters, symbols she didn't understand. "You're staring," he said without turning. "You're covered in tattoos. Syndicate marks, every kill, every operation, every piece of my soul I sold." Elena moved closer. "Do you regret it?" "Every day." He turned, eyes dark, haunted. "But I'd do it again because it brought me here, to you." The air thickened. Elena should have stepped back. Instead, she asked, "What happened to you after they took you?" Minho's jaw tightened. "Foster homes, abuse, trafficking. I ran at 15, joined the syndicate because it was survival or death." He paused. "They broke me, rebuilt me, turned me into a weapon." "You protected those people tonight." "I protected you." "Why?" Minho closed the distance between them, not touching, just close enough that Elena felt the heat radiating off him. "Because you're the only good thing I ever had, the only memory that didn't hurt. And when I finally found you," his voice dropped, "I realized you're still good, still fighting, still saving people even when it destroys you." Elena's breath hitched. "I'm not." "You are." His hand moved to her face, stopped just before touching. "You're everything I promised I'd become worthy of." Elena's chest ached. "You think you're not worthy?" "I know I'm not. I've killed people, Elena, destroyed lives, built an empire on blood. To protect me. That doesn't make it right." "No." Elena's hand covered his, pressed it against her cheek. "But it makes it human." Minho's control shattered. He kissed her. Not gentle, not careful. 22 years of want and promise and desperation compressed into a single moment. Elena kissed back, hands in his hair, body pressed against his. Logic drowning under 22 years of carrying a pendant and wondering if promises could survive reality. Minho pulled back, breathing hard. "Tell me to stop." "No." "Elena, I saved you once. Maybe you saved me too. Maybe we've been saving each other this whole time and just didn't know it." Minho lifted her, carried her to the bedroom. And for one night, they weren't a Mafia King and a social worker. They were 2 orphans who found each other behind a fence and refused to let go. Elena woke to empty sheets. Sunlight cut through floor-to-ceiling windows. The city sprawled below. She sat up, Minho's shirt still on, her heart still racing. "Minho?" No answer. She found him in the living room. Phone pressed to his ear, voice cold. "Remove all surveillance from her block, now." Pause. "I don't care what Kang says. Elena Vance is off limits. Anyone who touches her answers to me." He hung up, turned, saw Elena. Something shifted in his expression. The hardness melted. "You're awake. You're giving orders to protect me." "Always." Elena's chest tightened. "What does that mean? For us?" Minho crossed the room, cupped her face. "It means you're mine to protect, and I'm yours to save, just like we've always been." Across the city, Director Kang watched security footage of the town hall attack. Minho protecting Elena, fighting his own operation to save her. Kang's phone rang. His second in command. "Sir, Minho just pulled surveillance from the Emerald District. He's prioritizing the woman over—" "I know." Kang ended the call. Stared at the frozen image of Minho holding Elena's scarred hand. 20 years he'd invested in the Gwang-ju Ghost, made him powerful, made him untouchable. And one woman undid it all. Kang opened his contacts, scrolled to a name he'd kept for situations exactly like this. Viper, Korea, Wetwork Specialist. He typed a message. Elena Vance, Emerald District, make it look random, sent. If Minho wouldn't eliminate his weakness, Kang would do it for him. And when Elena Vance was gone, the Gwang-ju Ghost would remember who he really belonged to. 3 days later, Elena returned to the Emerald District. Minho didn't want her to go. "It's not safe. The Kang is planning something." "I can't hide forever. These are my people." She kissed him, left before he could argue. That decision almost killed her. Elena was walking to the community center when the car appeared. Black sedan, tinted windows, moving too fast. She barely registered the danger before the window rolled down. Gun barrel, muzzle flash. Elena dove behind a parked car. Bullets tore through metal. Glass shattered. Screams erupted. People ran. The sedan peeled away. Elena's ears rang. Her hands shook. Blood dripped from a graze on her shoulder. Close enough to kill, lucky enough to miss. Someone called 911, but Elena called Minho. Minho's voice went cold. "Where are you?" "Mariner Street. Someone just—" "Don't move. I'm coming." The line went dead. Minho arrived in 3 minutes. Impossible speed. Like the city bent for him. He found Elena sitting against the wall, medics bandaging her shoulder. His face was a mask. No emotion, no sound, just calculation. He knelt beside her, checked the wound, his hands gentle despite the violence coiled in every muscle. "It was Kang," Minho said quietly. "How do you know?" "Because he's declaring war." Minho's phone buzzed. A message. "This is what happens when you choose weakness. Next time she dies." Minho's jaw locked. He stood, turned to his bodyguard. "Find Kang. Bring him to the warehouse, the old one." "Sir? You know which one." The bodyguard paled, nodded, left. Elena grabbed Minho's hand. "What are you going to do?" Minho looked at her, eyes dark, empty. "End this." The warehouse was the one from their childhood. Chain-link fence still standing, rusted, broken in places. 22 years ago, a starving boy waited behind that fence for a girl who saved him. Tonight, that boy, now a man built from violence, would destroy the person who tried to take her away. Director Kang arrived at gunpoint. Minho's people dragged him into the empty space. Kang didn't look scared. He looked disappointed. "You really chose her over everything?" Minho stood in the center of the warehouse, hands in his pockets, voice calm. "You tried to kill her. I tried to save you from yourself." Kang spat blood. "You were perfect, the Gwang-ju Ghost, untouchable. Then you found that woman and became soft. I became human. Same thing." Minho pulled out a gun. Not fast, not dramatic, just final. "You trained me to survive, taught me power, made me a weapon." He chambered around. "But you never understood that she's the only reason I wanted any of it." Kang laughed, bitter. "So you'll throw away an empire? For a social worker who gave you a sandwich 20 years ago?" "Yes." The gunshot echoed. Kang fell. Minho stood over him. No remorse, no hesitation, just the cold efficiency of someone ending a threat. His people didn't move. Waiting. Minho turned to them. Get Kang's body out of here, then gather every ledger, every record, every piece of evidence tying me to the syndicate. Sir, if we... Burn it, all of it. But the Empire... I'm done. Silence. One of the men stepped forward. You're walking away? No. Minho's voice was steel. I'm burning it down. Every operation, every connection, every dollar tied to blood. The $80 million? Transfer it to a shell foundation. Elena's name, her control. Use it to fund everything she's been fighting for. The man blinked. That's everything you built. I know. Minho turned, walked toward the fence, the place where Elena first found him. He pressed his scarred palm against the cold metal. I built this empire to find her, to protect her, to prove I kept my promise. His voice cracked. But she doesn't need an empire. She needs the world I promised her, and I can't give her that while I'm still covered in blood. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called them. Anonymous tip. Minho's people scattered, but Minho stayed. He pulled out his phone, called Elena. It's done. What's done? Kang, the syndicate, everything. Elena's voice shook. Minho, what did you do? I chose you. His voice broke. I'm destroying my empire for you, all of it, the money, the power, the life I built. I'm burning it down because you deserve better than a king who rules through violence. Minho, I love you. I've loved you since I was 8 years old and dying. I'll love you until I'm nothing. And if that means losing everything else, then I lose it gladly. The sirens grew louder. Where are you? Elena's voice was frantic. The warehouse, our fence. I'm coming. Don't. The police. I don't care. The line went dead. This is the moment everything changes. Minho just burned down an $80 million empire reduced to ash for the girl who once nursed him back to health. If that doesn't make you feel something, I don't know what will. Don't miss what happens next. Subscribe now, because the stakes just got deadly. Comment below. Would you destroy everything for your first love? 6 weeks later, Elena threw up for the third morning in a row. She stared at herself in the mirror, pale, exhausted, hands shaking. The pregnancy test sat on the counter. 2 lines. Positive. Her heart stopped, then restarted, faster. She was carrying Minho Park's child. Minho had spent 6 weeks dismantling his empire. Federal cooperation, witness protection. Testimony against the syndicate that destroyed him and rebuilt him. In exchange, immunity, clean slate, new life. The $80 million transferred to the Vance Foundation. Elena's name on every document. He'd kept his promise, given her the resources to save the Emerald District. But he hadn't expected the cost. Couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Nightmares of Kang's execution, of every person he'd killed, of the monster he'd been. Elena found him on the penthouse balcony. 3 a.m, staring at nothing. Minho. He turned, saw her expression. What's wrong? Elena's hands trembled. I'm pregnant. Minho froze. For 10 seconds, he didn't breathe. Then his legs gave out. He dropped to his knees, hands covering his face, shoulders shaking. Elena knelt beside him. Minho, I'm going to be a father. His voice broke. I don't know how. I don't know if I'm... You're going to be great. I've killed people, Elena. My hands are... Your hands fed me when I was alone. Your hands protected me. Your hands held mine through a fence when we were both dying. She grabbed his face. Those same hands will hold our child, and that's all that matters. Minho pulled her close, buried his face in her shoulder, and for the first time in 22 years, he cried. 2 months later, the Vance Foundation launched publicly. Press conference, Elena at the podium, Minho behind her, no longer a ghost, just a man trying to build something good. "This foundation," Elena announced, "will provide housing assistance, medical clinics, food programs, and educational support to the Emerald District and beyond." Cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions. "Miss Vance, isn't this funded by mafia money?" Elena's jaw tightened. "This is funded by a man who grew up starving in these streets, who survived hell, who chose to use his resources to make sure no child goes hungry the way he did." She looked at Minho. "He's not perfect, but he's trying. And that's what this foundation represents. Second chances." The narrative shifted. Headlines changed from Mafia Boss turns witness to From Syndicate to Sanctuary. The redemption of Minho Park. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a start. 6 months in, the results were undeniable. 3 new housing complexes, rent-controlled, clean, safe, free medical clinic, staffed by real doctors, open 7 days a week, community center rebuilt, after-school programs, job training, child care, food bank that never ran out, former gang members hired as security, given salaries, given purpose. Crime dropped 40%, evictions stopped, the Emerald District transformed, and Elena's belly grew. Minho couldn't stop touching it. At night, in the morning, every moment they were alone. "He's kicking," Elena laughed. "How do you know it's a he?" "Mother's intuition." Minho pressed his ear against her stomach. "If it's a boy, we're teaching him kindness. If it's a girl, we're teaching her strength. We're teaching them both." Minho looked up, eyes soft in a way they'd never been. "I don't deserve this. You, the baby, this life. You fought for it. You bled for it. You destroyed everything to build it." Elena's hand covered his scarred palm. "That makes it yours." The threat arrived 2 weeks before Elena's due date. Minho checked his phone. Unknown number, photo attached. His blood went cold. Elena, walking to the clinic, crosshairs superimposed over her head. Message below. "Ghosts don't get happy endings. We're coming." Minho's hands shook. He'd thought dismantling the syndicate would end it. But someone still wanted revenge. Someone still wanted Elena dead. Minho called his head of security. "Lock down the foundation. Full detail on Elena. 24/7. No exceptions." "Sir, who—" "I don't know, but they're coming for her." Minho stared at the photo, at Elena's face, at the life growing inside her. He'd promised her a world where people didn't disappear. But someone was trying to make her vanish, and Minho would burn down everything, again, before he let that happen. The community center reopening was packed. 8 months since Minho burned down his empire. 8 months since he chose Elena over power. 8 months of building something real. Elena stood on stage, 9 months pregnant, glowing despite exhaustion. The crowd was everyone who mattered: families, elders, kids, former gang members now working security in foundation polo shirts. Minho watched from the side. Suit. No tattoos visible, hair shorter, softer. He looked almost normal. Almost. Elena gripped the microphone. "Well, 1 year ago, this district was dying. Families evicted, buildings abandoned, hope gone." Murmurs of agreement. Then something changed. She looked at Minho. Someone came back. Someone who grew up starving in these streets. Someone who built an empire just to tear it down for us. Applause started. The Vance Foundation has housed 847 families, fed 3,000 children, provided medical care to 5,000 residents, created 200 jobs, and reduced crime by 47%. The crowd erupted. Elena's voice cracked. "This is what happens when someone keeps a promise." Minho stepped forward, unplanned, unscripted. He took the microphone. The room went silent. 22 years ago, Minho began, voice steady. I was dying behind a fence, starving, sick, invisible. He pulled Elena's hand forward, showed the crowd their matching scars. This woman saved me. Not once, every day, for 6 months. She gave me her lunch, her jacket, her medicine, her kindness when the world had none. Elena's eyes filled with tears. I made her a promise. I told her when I got rich, I'd marry her. I'd give her a world where nobody was hungry. Minho's voice dropped. I got rich. I built an empire. But I realized something. He turned to Elena. You don't need my empire. You are the empire. You're the reason any of this matters. Minho knelt. The crowd gasped. He pulled out a ring. Simple, silver, no diamonds, just a band engraved with 2 halves of a heart. Elena Vance, you saved my life when you were 8 years old. You saved it again when you let me protect you. You saved it every day since by reminding me that kindness isn't weakness. His voice broke. Will you marry me? Elena couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. 22 years of carrying a pendant, 22 years of believing in a promise made by a dying boy. And now he was here, kneeling, offering her everything. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes. Minho stood, slipped the ring on, kissed her while the crowd cheered. For the first time in his life, Minho Park felt clean. You've come this far with them. From a chain-link fence to a community gala. From a starving boy to a man who destroyed his empire for love. From a little girl with a sandwich to a woman who changed a city. Don't leave before you see how their story truly ends. Hit subscribe, because what happens in the next chapter will break you and heal you at the same time. Comment. What moment hit you hardest? That night, Elena woke to pain. Sharp, sudden, radiating through her belly. Minho. He was awake instantly. What's wrong? The baby, it's... Her water broke. Minho moved fast. Phone, security, car, hospital in 7 minutes. Elena's contractions came hard, too early, too fast. Doctors rushed her to delivery, nurses shouting, machines beeping. Minho held her hand. Scarred palm to scarred palm. The same way they'd held hands through a fence 22 years ago. You're okay. You're both okay. Elena screamed, pushed, bled. The room swam with pain and panic. Minho refused to let go. Stay with me, please. Stay with me. Elena's grip weakened. Hours blurred into an eternity of waiting. Then, crying. A baby's cry. The most beautiful sound Minho had ever heard. But Elena's monitors beeped wrong. Erratic. Fading. A nurse pushed Minho back. Sir, we need space. No, Elena! Her eyes rolled back. The monitors flatlined. One long, endless tone. Code Blue! Get the crash cart! Minho's world shattered. The baby cried in a nurse's arms. Alive! Perfect! But Elena, the woman who saved him, the woman who gave him a reason to exist, the woman who turned a monster back into a man, was dying. The doctor shocked Elena's heart once, twice, 3 times. Minho's world existed in the space between heartbeats. Then, the monitor beeped, steady, strong, alive. Elena gasped, eyes fluttering open. My baby! The nurse placed the infant in her arms. He's perfect! Minho collapsed beside the bed, hands shaking, tears streaming down his face. You're both okay. You're both here. Elena held their son. Tiny, perfect, screaming with life. What do we name him? Minho looked at the baby. At Elena. At the miracle they'd somehow created from violence and kindness. Hope. 5 years later, Minho Park walked through the same alley where he'd once waited to die. Chain-link fence still standing. Rusted, worn, but no longer a prison. Now it was history. A plaque hung on the building. Vance Foundation, where kindness changed everything. Hope ran ahead, 5 years old, laughing, chasing pigeons. Elena walked beside Minho, wedding ring glinting, belly round with their second child. "You okay?" she asked. Minho touched the fence. "I used to think this place was where I lost everything, but it's where I found you." Hope stopped, pointed. "Daddy, there's a boy." Minho's heart stopped. Behind the fence, not the same fence, but close enough, a small child sat curled against concrete. Korean, maybe 7 years old, clothes dirty, face hollow. Starving. Minho knelt slowly. Elena, she saw, understood. The boy looked up, eyes glassy with fever. The same look Minho once had. The look that said, "I'm invisible. I'm dying. Nobody cares." Minho pulled off his jacket. Expensive. Wool. The kind of thing he once dreamed of owning. He pushed it through the fence. The boy stared. "Take it," Minho said softly. "It's yours." Elena knelt beside him, pulled out a sandwich from her bag. Peanut butter and jelly. Some things never changed. She pushed it through the fence. "You gotta eat." The boy's hand trembled, reached out, took the food. He ate like Minho once did, like survival was the only truth left. When he finished, he looked at them. "Why?" Minho held up his scarred palm. The boy's eyes widened. Elena showed hers. 2 matching scars. 2 people bound by kindness and blood. "Because someone once fed me when I was dying," Minho whispered, "and it changed everything." The boy's voice cracked. "Are you real?" "Very real." Minho smiled. "And we're not going anywhere." Hope tugged Elena's hand. "Mama, can we help him?" Elena's eyes filled with tears. "Yes, baby, we can." Minho pulled out his phone, called the foundation. "We need emergency services at the South End warehouse. 1 minor, malnourished, possible fever. Send someone now." He hung up, looked at the boy. "Help is coming. People who care. People who will make sure you're safe." The boy's hand moved to the fence, pressed against it. Minho's scarred palm touched the boy's through the metal. 22 years collapsed into a single moment. 2 orphans connected by a promise. The boy whispered, "What's your name?" Minho's throat tightened. "Someone who was once invisible." Elena wrapped her arm around him, hope pressed against his leg. The sirens approached. Not police, not threats, help. Minho turned to Elena. "We did it. The world we promised." She kissed him. Together. One small act of kindness didn't just change his future. It created a family and a city that finally remembered its forgotten children. If this story touched you, please share it. Because somewhere, someone is sitting behind their own fence, invisible and forgotten. Maybe your kindness, your small act, becomes their turning point. Minho and Elena's story reminds us that we're all one moment away from saving someone or being saved. Thank you for listening.